Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Professor Sistrunk, and I am reaching out to my CNS 108 student body. Okay, it's a couple of things that I want to go over because I want to make sure that we take the second week and we really dig into the work and get an understanding of what we're doing. So I want to give clarity to a few things. The first thing is this: some of you did not go to content and did not download the syllabi. Remember, the syllabus is important. If you're not looking at the syllabus, you have no idea what you're doing. And quite a few of you demonstrated that, but that's okay. The next thing is your discussion question. These are important. So this discussion format is important. Make sure that you follow the discussion format. It is right here. Read through it and make sure you follow it and answer the questions that are on there. Some of you miss the actual understanding of the questions that were in there, so you didn't answer them. So let's make sure we stand on top of that. And also, do not add to the discussion question. Only answer what the question is asking you. You do not want to add and multiply and subtract. Just keep focused on what's in there. The last thing that I want to talk about here is your chapter quizzes. In D2L, you have chapter quizzes to do. So make sure you do your chapter quizzes. They are important, so make sure you do that. So just to give clarity, we starting the week off really good. So the class is moving real good, but let's make sure we stay focused on these particular items. Now, let's go take a look inside of the actual course. Okay, so now we are inside of the course. We are dealing with Module 2, Cloud Economics and Building. In this particular week, you have two modules to knock out. You got Module 2, Cloud Economics and Building, and Module 3, AWS Global Infrastructure Overview. These two modules are highly important. But what I want to point out in here, which some students are not paying attention to, is I understand you're going through the videos. Great. You're going to have some actual demonstrations in here. Great. But you have to read through the study guide. This is what's going to help you with your exams. This exam right here says Module 2 Knowledge Check. It's going to help you with that. And it's also going to help you with that Chapter 2 exam, which is the rough exam. So make sure that you are reviewing your study guide. I would make a suggestion to you. Take the study guide. As you're going through each one of the videos, use the study guide as your reference where you can mark stuff down, etc., so you can remember. Once you get through all the videos, go back through your study guide again. Do not skip this because you will do miserable on the actual chapter exams, chapter quizzes. Okay, so you got two to complete this week. Now, that's what I wanted to point out to you that was real important, that study guide. Okay, let's take a look at the actual material that you'll be recovering. So I'm gonna do a video on this here, Cloud Economics and Building, but I'm gonna send you another video on AWS Global Infrastructure Overview. So let's deal with Cloud Economics and Building. We are in the actual course here, and I'm just gonna break down a few things that's important, so pay attention. You will walk through all of this, but I want to give you my little tidbit on a few things in here. Okay, pay attention to your topics. In here, you have approximately 5 topics. Fundamentals of pricing, total cost of ownership, AWS organization, AWS billing and cost management, technical support. Now remember, the exam you just completed in chapter 1, you're going to see that exam again. I'm going to repurpose it in chapter 2 exam, but I'm also going to add some of these questions in there too. So it's always going to be a consistent build to make sure you understand what you're covering. So chapter 1 going to move to chapter 2 with more questions. Chapter 2 is going to move to chapter 3 with more questions. And when I say chapters, just make sure you understand that I'm actually talking about weeks. Okay? Now, you're going to have some activities in here. AWS pricing calculator. Make sure you understand that. That is highly important in this particular course. Support plans. That's important too. You're going to have a demo in here. In this demo, it's going to talk about the billing dashboard so you can get familiar. Remember, you coming up to a point where you will actually, let me say that again, where you will actually be doing labs. So make sure you pay attention to this. And then you got your knowledge check to see what you know. So from your knowledge check and actually your student guide, then you'll be able to go to the D2L chapter quiz and knock that out. Now in AWS, it's really simple. 3 fundamental drivers of cost with AWS. All you have to do is remember you have compute, you have storage, and you have data transfer. This is how AWS gets paid. So they charge you per hour in compute. They also in storage, it says charge typically per gigabyte. And then you got data transfer. Now, they don't charge you for putting data inside of your particular compute or storage, but they charge you for data transferring out. Starting with data transfer, outbound is aggregated and charged. So as you send data out, you want to make sure you understand that inbound has no charge. Meaning if I'm putting data into my organization, I'm not being charged for it. But it's when I'm taking the data out, transferring the data somewhere else, I'm being charged. In storage, they're just going to charge you per gigabyte. So you just make sure that you understand that. And compute is really simple, charge per hour. So these are the 3 main ways AWS get paid for you using their services. Now, we move to how do you pay for AWS services. As you can see right here, pay for what you use. Whatever you use, you pay for it. It's a lot of different services in there. And if you're not using it, you don't have to pay for it. But you only pay for what you use. It's not like a typical networking department where on-premise, everything in there you paying for, or you had to pay for to set up an on-premise data storage, networking, etc., etc. Pay less when you reserve. If you reserve a VM or you reserve things inside of the AWS platform, you pay less. Sounds reasonable. And then pay less when you use more and as the AWS grow. Remember, AWS is consistently growing and growing. So they give some of those monies back to the organization. Or in other words, they don't actually cut you a check. What they actually do is have you pay less for your services. So that's one of the biggest things about AWS. The bigger they get, the less they will charge your organization moving forward. So on-premise versus AWS. And one of the things you can see right here, it says pay only for the services that you consume with no large upfront expenses. When you have an on-premise service, you have to build that whole thing out. If you ever went into any company and you saw their IT department, all that stuff in there, they had to pay. That's capital expenses. That's a lot. Whereas AWS, you're just paying for services. You connect to them, you use their services, and you pay for that. So that will always be less than actually a total build out. Now, one of the things that I really like about AWS is the AWS Free Tier. This is a service where you can actually build an AWS account, and for the first year, they will let you use some services, not all services, some services absolutely free. So you can get used to using this. And this is where you actually practice and you demonstrate and you skill yourself up to make sure you understand that. Now, hopefully at the end of this, you'll be able to build you an AWS account and utilize some of those services to practice more and more. But understand it's free, and also understand that these services, you can't use all of them. You will not be able to use all of them, just some. Remember, there are services that's inside of the AWS platform that is absolutely free. You see here, Amazon VPC. If you have taken any other computer classes, you'll hear about Virtual Private Network, VPN. For the cloud, we use Virtual Private Cloud. Same concept, but it's in the cloud. Elastic Beanstalk, auto scaling, AWS Cloud Formation. These particular services are absolutely free. Okay, what's our takeaway in this particular session? I'm keeping these sessions short. It's simply, there is no charge with some expectations for inbound data transfer. We talked about that. Pay for what you use, start and stop anytime. That means I can actually start AWS services up, have it for a year, 2 years, 5 years, and just decide, okay, I'm stopping, and you stop paying. So read through your particular chapters very carefully. Make sure you look at all the videos, but take your time, because I want to make sure you do extremely well.